Shalom, greetings to everyone. It's a privilege once again to be here with you, and well, today in a somewhat different format. Today the program is pre-recorded. What we're going to talk about today is recorded, but don't think there's a huge time difference. Exactly. Here there's just a little bit of time left before it's nighttime, right at the time when the video will be released. I just can't do it live. We can't do it live today because, well, other things come up that we have to deal with, as some people say. But I also have a few things to do today. But anyway, that doesn't mean that what we're going to share today, or rather what I'm going to share today, won't be interesting. Unfortunately, today Lore can't join me. She also has a series of meetings today, right at this same time. And well, we couldn't coordinate to be together today. I want you to know the following. Yesterday I was in the city of Tel Aviv and I made that video of the tour. I don't know how many of you were able to watch the tour video, but we made this tour video, as far as I understand, and for many of you who have seen it, it seems like you liked it. Some of you felt like you were my travel companion, only you weren't talking to me. You were just there, like in silent mode, entertained by everything you saw. From time to time, I could hear or imagine some message that you were writing. And well, in summary, I think it was really interesting. But unfortunately, there's always someone who doubts. There's always someone who doubts and says, no, that's not real. That video is old, or that's edited, or that's artificial intelligence. Nowadays, everyone is talking about artificial intelligence. And while we do need to be careful because there's a lot of strange material out there, you have to pay attention to the person who's actually behind it. I think that up to this point, I haven't shown anyone who knows me that I'm not transparent. I believe I'm as transparent as I can be. And in fact, I even said, let's go out, let's record, I'm not going to edit it. We actually had a comment, and I told you about it, that it was because of the heat on the windshield of the vehicle, but that's all it was. But you know, to clear up all these doubts, when people say, no, that video is staged. So what I did today is, we're not going to get in the car and go traveling or anything like that. But I want to show you the camera in real time. I'm going to switch to the camera in real time now. At least the camera. I'm going to show you the Western Wall camera in real time, so you can see it. Hold on, I'm coming. I'll move it for you. Just a second. I have to do something here that I'm also learning, but I'm doing the best I can. Look, I'm gonna go with this. I'm gonna set up this little camera for you and look at what we have today. Today we're innovating. Honestly, we're innovating. There it is. Look, you can see in real time the 24/7 camera of the Western Wall. You can watch this camera from the website. From wherever you are, from anywhere in your house, you can watch this camera without any problems. Look, here I'm getting a little closer so you can see how this looks up close. No? I'm gonna try to move away. Let's see. Hold on. Now I got it. I'm gonna see if it works. Now I'm gonna see if I can move away. No, I'm still getting closer. I think I can only get closer. I get closer, and I move farther away. Well, before I could zoom out much further with this camera, and you could see. But look, yes, we're there. The flag is waving. You might be wondering why there aren't people. Why aren't there people now praying at the Western Wall? What's going on? Why aren't there any? Well, there are restrictions. The reality is that there are restrictions. So people can't enter the old city. The old city has 8 gates, of which 7 are open and 1 is closed. So only people who live inside the old city can be inside the old city. Yes, for example, I don't live inside the old city, so I can't go. I can't enter. Now, for example, even if I wanted to go to the wall area, I can't enter. Because I don't live inside the old city of Jerusalem, even if I lived in the city of Jerusalem, in the modern city of Jerusalem, I also don't have access to the Western Wall area. Why? Because I'm not a citizen from inside the old city, someone who lives within the walls of Jerusalem. So only those who live within the walls of Jerusalem can be inside the old city of Jerusalem today. But that doesn't mean that those who live inside the old city of Jerusalem can go all the way to the area of the wall, because that area is also restricted. It's guarded. So there are 1, 2, 3, like 3 or 4 checkpoints. You know how, for example, at the airport, those who have visited Israel know there are checkpoints where you're told to take out your wallet, phone, and purse. And you'll go through a machine, some sensors, and only then will you be able to enter the area of the wall. But because there are limitations where only up to 50 people can be present in public places at the same time, they can't allow people to enter the area of the Western Wall. Why? Because there are 2 important synagogues. One is on the men's side and the other is on the women's side. If you can see, for example, you can see there, as I'm getting closer, there are 2 men over there. Do you see those 2 men? One of them just left, the one going out the door. That is the men's synagogue. There, in the back. Look, let me get closer. That door that looks kind of half open, that's the place where it is. Only up to 50 people can gather there, that's it. And the women are on this other side of the line. Exactly, they're here, underneath, right under the bridge where these lines are. That's the women's section. It's kind of like half and half, you could say. And the tourists, when the tourists come, they enter through this door up here. That's where the tourists come in. When they enter, where do they go? They enter the area, which now looks like all trees, but they enter the area where the Golden Dome is located, which in ancient times was the Temple Mount, where the temple was. What you see there in the distance, far away, is a tower and all of that. That's the area of the Mount of Olives, the Garden of Gethsemane, everything you can see, like in the distance, right? And here you can see workers. Notice the date, March 19th, we're watching the live feed from the camera. And these gentlemen here are working around what is the Esplanade, the Temple Mount. Don't be confused, it's not that they're building the temple. I'm gonna have something to wet my throat a bit. They're not building the temple, but it is important for you to see it. This is how the Western Wall looks right now in the city of Jerusalem. I have other live cameras that I can show you as well, which I also find interesting. I'm switching now, and here they are. Look, these other ones are cameras that are generally from the north of Israel, from different parts of the territory of Israel in general, where you will be able to get a much broader view of what Israel looks like. That is, for all those people who were telling me Israel is disappearing or Israel has disappeared, you should know that's not true. Israel hasn't disappeared. Tel Aviv hasn't disappeared either. So I'm just here to clear up those doubts that people sometimes bring up. All those kinds of doubts that unfortunately aren't real. I also want to share with you a little bit, just a little bit, about what things look like now or what's happening right now. Regarding the news, I'm gonna look up some news so I can show you, and we're gonna go here. What's happening in the last hour? I want to tell you something today, something that really caught my attention. It's a statistic that's compiled, right? And I want you to know about it. Well, it goes like this. In the last hour, honestly, it's been pretty calm. In the last hour, there hasn't been any serious conflict. The alarm didn't go off. Unfortunately, the tension continues in the north of Israel with this group, Hezbollah. And one of the problems that Hezbollah has now, Lebanon is going to deal directly with Israel on the matter, which is something very interesting, that they are going to deal with Israel on the matter. Honestly, there isn't much, not on Israel's side, but there is for the countries that are very close to Iran. Like, for example, the United Arab Emirates. They were attacked. Saudi Arabia was attacked. Yes, that's what you see here in the news. In Iran, they say that they threatened to attack the power plants.
Yeah.
And so on. But in the territory of the Middle East, it's mostly the conflict. When I say Middle East, I mean the United Arab Emirates, which includes Dubai and this whole sector of Qatar. Bahrain, Riyadh, all these cities that are also very important and generate a lot of activity. Now, I want to talk to you about a topic. Is that an interesting one? I'm gonna put it on the screen for you because I found it so interesting, honestly, that I want to share it with you. What I'm gonna share here. Here it goes. Look, it turns out, that's what I think. A study came out, and that study was about which countries are the happiest on a global level. This article that I'm showing here is an article from a website, and the website is official. It's a website dedicated to making statistics. The website is, as you can see, World Population Review. And they are dedicated to making all kinds of statistics. Here, for example, one of them that was just done now. Well, this very week, they finished all the statistics that are done annually. This is done every year. And so it's about which are the happiest countries in the world in this 2026. And here, honestly, is where we are surprised. And these are the strange things. These are the strange things about Israel. Israel has several strange things, but this is one of them. Look, one could say. And there were a lot of comments on yesterday's video about Tel Aviv that said how sad it is to live that way. How can you live that way? How bitter it must be to live like that. And it's true, because it happened to me too. You break down, you fall apart, and you ask yourself, how much longer will all this go on? But it's just a moment. It's a moment when you realize that the situation gets a little complicated, but it's just a moment. And after a little while, you manage to reflect again, or after a short time, you reflect and say, okay, was it worth it? Either this is worth it, or we know it will improve. Because, well, those of us who know the scriptures know that the situation in Israel is not going to improve 100%. This is a boiling pot, we know that. From time to time, we have conflicts. But it is also one of the safest nations on the face of the earth. And I also mentioned this yesterday, that here when danger comes, you report, here they will not harm you. Someone surprises you with a gun and tells you, give me everything you have or give me your phone, and bang, you get shot because they steal your phone. That kind of crime doesn't exist here. There's no street crime, no robbing people on the street, no snatching wallets and running away. It doesn't exist, right? Not in the big cities. There might be conflict situations in places where you shouldn't even go, but that's obvious. There are places where you just shouldn't go. But that culture doesn't exist here. The reality is that everything is very controlled and it's really minimal. So from that point of view, you feel at ease. You feel calm. You know that if you send the kids to go play sports, they can come back at 10 or 11 at night and there's no problem at all. They won't be robbed, no one will take their phone, and they won't be attacked. Because really, that kind of crime doesn't exist here. There are other issues we have to deal with, but they're not at that level of insecurity. So when we say insecurity, it actually turns into security. It's because they warn you when danger is coming, and one of the ways they warn you is when the missile alarm goes off. So in a way, it makes you feel calm, it makes you feel relaxed, it makes you feel safe. And the fact is that here, this is a country that is permanently on the defensive. They're always looking for ways to improve themselves, ways to perfect themselves. They're always looking for ways to improve globally, to be among the leading countries at a European level and in the world. They're always into technology, always trying to be at the forefront, and that's what makes it worth going through all this situation. Because at the end of the day, you see that it's not only good for yourself in the present, but it's also good for those who come after us, for our children, for their future.
Que lo que les espera.
And to become something better. We know there will be conflicts. The world has conflicts. The Bible tells us there will be conflicts. And we know that Israel will also have conflicts. But within all of that, there is something that makes us feel secure. And that security ultimately ends up transforming, shining, reflecting. That would be the exact word, into joy, into happiness. After every storm, we know that calm comes, and so, after every conflict, happiness follows. And when statistics are taken, people are always asked in real time, Israel? As you know, we have been in conflict for several years. Today we are in the year 2026. But we've been dealing with global conflicts since the time of COVID. Then came that famous October 7th in the year 23. Then that lasted for almost 2 years, and now this conflict is rising again. In March, we had about 6 months, maybe 5 months, of being at peace from the world blaming us. We became the worst nation on the face of the earth, the least friendly to children, the least friendly to women, the most murderous nation everywhere. Wherever Israel was mentioned, you couldn't say you were from Israel because the world hated you. Even today, it's still like that, but that hatred has lessened a bit. Anti-Semitism had grown a lot. I remember that when we traveled to Europe with our children, we told them not to say we were from Israel because we were at risk. The country started to be like traffic lights, red traffic lights. When I say red traffic light, it meant that the color red was not friendly to Israel. And so Israel would say it's not advisable to travel to these countries. There was a list of countries where anti-Semitism had grown so much that you couldn't say you were from Israel. So then, all of that created such a big conflict that Israel ended up isolated, pushed to the side. Until now, just now, the world is starting to realize, and many people are starting to realize, that Israel wasn't so bad, that Israel wasn't so wrong. That Israel's problem wasn't with the Arabs, that Israel's problem was with the terrorists and a lot of other things. Some realized it, but instead of going out into the streets to defend, they chose to remain silent and stayed in that silence. They don't make those noises anymore, they just don't, against Israel, because there's no one to blame. They're not gonna blame Iran, they're not gonna blame Hamas, they're not gonna blame Hezbollah. No, because there's fear. Because there's fear of taking a risk. There's fear that your life could be taken away. If you attacked Israel, Israel doesn't respond with, "We're going to kill you." They don't respond with a threat, but if you attack the terrorists, your life is at risk. Because you don't know where the blow is going to come from now. So that's why now there's a lot of silence from people in terms of not attacking Israel, and the few who do attack Israel do so behind the messages on social media. They do it through hidden messages. They change their names. Instead of calling themselves Robert, they call themselves Computer 748. They call themselves Mirror 123. They call themselves whatever they want to call themselves. They use names, and then they hide behind all of that. But I say all this so that you simply understand that the people of Israel went through conflicts, are in conflict, and will continue to be in conflict, but that does not take away from the people of Israel the happiness of living in their land. At one point I posted a little video where I talked about the lies that exist in communication, whether it's the internet or the media. So I took a route and saw a huge traffic jam, so I said I'm gonna record this traffic. But at one point when that traffic ended, I saw that the traffic was because there had been an accident up ahead. It usually happens a lot here. The traffic jams aren't the big ones, but when there's a traffic jam, it's because there's a problem, or a vehicle broke down, or something happened, and that's when this traffic jam happens. So that's what happened. In a little video I uploaded, I titled it something like Israelis fleeing because of the war, something like that, which wasn't a misleading title. Because I'm explaining it myself while I'm talking in the video, I'm actually saying if I had to give this video a title, it would be Israelis fleeing because of the war, and that's what I did. But I keep explaining and talking about the situation, and of course there were people who started writing in the comments, "That's not true, that's a lie. Israelis aren't fleeing," but the question is, and the one I ask myself, did they even watch the video? Because the video wasn't about Israel fleeing, it was just the title. Because if you only watched a video that's 1 minute long, a minute and a half, then you would realize that message should never have been written. So what I mean by this is that people just throw out the first thing that comes to their mind without first researching what's behind it. And that's how the conflict of anti-Semitism arose. That's how those people who end up and continue hating the people of Israel to this day came about. But I want to go back and say this. What surprises me the most is that when this statistic comes up, which I'm going to talk about in the next few minutes, this statistic comes up where it says that it can't be believed and it can't be understood. Because the citizen who lives within the territory of Israel feels so happy, feels so content with a country that is permanently in conflict. Look at the happiest countries of 2026. Do they show these results? Number 1 is the country that was already there before. As an important country. And it's Finland. There you can see it. Finland is in the number 1 spot. You can see it there. It appears among the countries. I'm gonna give you the list up to number 10. Look, here we go. Finland in the number 1 spot. Denmark in the number 2 spot. These are the happiest countries in the world. In the number 3 spot is Iceland. In the number 4 spot is Sweden. In the number 5 spot is the Netherlands. I'm making a side note here in the year 2024. That is, a couple of years ago, we're in 2026. In the year 2024, Israel was in 5th place. It was in 5th place, but well, now it dropped a few points to 6th place. The surprise. Latin or not Latin, because this is where I apologize to Costa Ricans for having said Latino. Because, as I was told, said by a Taiko himself, that they are the North American strawberry of Central America. Atiko told me this. I don't know what you all think then, Costa Rica? No, I don't know. It's not considered one of those countries that are unhappy, and they are very happy with their nation. Number 1, Finland. Number 2, Denmark. Number 3, Iceland. Number 4, Sweden. Number 5, Netherlands. Number 6, Costa Rica. Number 7, Norway. And look, who showed up there in the number 8 spot, did you see? In the number 8 spot is Israel. Number 9 is Luxembourg. And a Spanish-speaking country appears again in the number 10 spot, called Mexico. Look, Israel is in the number 8 spot. And my question is about what's strange, what's illogical, what's not understandable. How can it be that Israel, even for the second or third year in a row, is still, for many citizens, for many, the happiest country to live in? Incredible, really, incredible. These are not data created by Israel. These are global data.
Y
Allow me to show you. I have to say, I don't know why this happens, but I'll figure it out for you. I want to update this, show you the little map. This is the little map, okay? And I want to see how Israel's neighboring countries are doing. Iran. Here is Iraq. Saudi Arabia. This number that you are seeing is the rank where they stand. There you see Israel. Okay, and here you see Jordan, right? There you have the data. Here you have the data. Number 8, Israel. Do you want to see where another Latin country is? Let's see. Let's look for another Latin country since we're here. This is interesting. Who's the next one that shows up? We have 2. We have Costa Rica and we have Mexico. Look, the United States shows up in 24th place. It would seem like people would be really happy, but no, 24th place. Look, El Salvador shows up here. Then comes Spain. Do you want to know what place El Salvador is in? Let's do this. Let's see what place El Salvador is in. For that, we have to do a restart. Where is El Salvador? El Salvador is gone. Place 37. Place 37 El Salvador. Place 38 Spain. And then comes Panama in 41. Argentina beats it, which is in place 42, and so on. Chile appears around 45. Guatemala. Also, look, that's wrong.
Bueno, 40.
44 Guatemala, 45 Chile. So interesting. Interesting, honestly. This was a fact that I wanted to share with you because honestly, I found it really, really interesting that Israel continues to be in the number 8 spot in this case, which is still within the top 10 of the happiest countries. Living in it, strange things, illogical things could happen for some, and we could title this video, help me out here. The illogical things of Israel in times of war. Maybe it could be, I don't know, it seems long to me, but it could be something like that. Thank you very much. Family. Do you want to see the wall again to show you the wall again? And with that image of the wall, we will say goodbye in this video. The wall is still there. Those little guys are still there working. But you know what? I'd better show you, right? The image of the wall. the general image of different places in Israel. So you can also see there are the different places in Israel. So you can see how Israel is right at this very moment, in times of conflict, in times of crisis. Tomorrow, I have to be around Gaza, so I'll be making a video around Gaza. Stay tuned, because tomorrow I'll be there. So I'm going to show you how people are living, what's happening,
Y
and I'll bring you as much news as we can from that place. Thank you very much for joining me today in this interesting format that I tried to show you today. And let me know if you like this kind of content, with little things that are a bit different and interesting. So I'll try to do it more often so we can learn a little more about things that happen, that take place, that surprise us in the land of the Bible. Thank you for being here. Share the material, remember, and don't forget to be a blessing to others. Thank you very much. Shalom and blessings.